Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to thank all the witnesses for being here today. I think the question before us is, how do we transition the world to a zero carbon economy as cheaply and as easily as possible? And most all the witnesses seem to be in favor of market-based solutions to this problem, including a price on carbon. So I'd like each of the witnesses to answer, what is the right price of carbon? Mr. Lawler, Mr. Woods, Mr. Worth?
Yes, sir. So, BP has been an advocate of economy-wide, market-based price on carbon for many, many years.
I'd like the specific number, please, and I don't have much time. So please tell me the price of carbon that you would support.
So I don't have a specific price today to answer your question, but we do think it's the most efficient way to
Mr. Woods?
Mr. Congressman, it's a very important question. Depends on the where you're trying to decarbonize that. We have proposed a very large-scale carbon reduction project in the Houston ship channel. That would require $100 a ton. And depending on where you're at, how close you are to different sequestration, that price will change.
Mr. Woods or Mr. Worth?
Congressman, there are different circumstances in economies around the world. There are different carbon prices in economies around the world.
In the U.S.
A broad-based and transparent price is very important, and then a price that gradually moves into the economy.
What price?
Congressman, there are different opinions on the number. I'm talking about the
I want your opinion.
Congressman, the cost of mitigating emissions is very different in different sectors of our economy, and eventually to get to the kinds of reductions that we aspire to, it will be a very high price over time.
The price of carbon, what should it be?
Yes, we can't say a specific price right now. We would need to put this in place. It's a market-based carbon price. It would need to be a very even playing field, and depending on what we're trying to decarbonize, the price will float with the market.
Well, the sooner we can reach a fair price on carbon, and I know it would fluctuate, the sooner we can achieve that market-based reform that you say that you're for. Another part of market-based reforms are whether you're truly a market-based entity or not. And I was wondering if we could agree on the amount of government subsidies that you receive every year. I think at the low estimate, it's about $20 billion a year. But the IMF estimates that U.S. oil companies receive some $650 billion in direct and indirect subsidies every year. So can the four key oil executives agree on the amount by which they are subsidized, at least in the United States, by the U.S. taxpayer? Is it 20 billion or is it 650 billion? Crickets. None of you have any idea how much you're being subsidized by the U.S. taxpayer?
Congressman, our products are taxed, not subsidized. And I can tell you that a number of the policies that get described as subsidies are very similar to those available to other industries and other companies, and they're important for American energy security, American energy investments, and American energy supply.
Well, when the tobacco companies were on the hot seat years ago, the first step that Congress took was to remove the subsidies for tobacco growing. That was the first step. And I think it's very important that we arrive at the degree of subsidies that are involved. I know that you are taxed, but you also have special provisions that only apply to oil and gas companies and don't apply to other firms. In aggregate, how much are those subsidies? Because those by definition would not be market-based. Those are government policies that benefit your companies instead of other types of activities. How much are those subsidies? Crickets.
Congressman, I can't answer your question directly, but I would offer, though, that a healthy oil and gas industry is very important to the transition.
I agree. I agree. So, I'm wanting to find answers to market-based solutions, which you say that you're for. Final point, shareholder activism. These upstart hedge funds, the front page of the Wall Street Journal today has advocates of Shell being broken up, because apparently they believe that more money could be made for investors by having a better run company. and that shareholder activists have taken seats on ExxonMobil's board. I think that could be the market reform that might be faster than congressional action. I see that my time has expired. I thank the chair.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. The gentle lady.